Sure, friends, welcome back. We're in the 5-2 emotional 6.5 day sequence. We're going to talk about day two. Day two is right here in this white rectangle. Now, if you haven't seen the general overview, we strongly suggest you check that out as it helps you understand how to read these graphs and how to keep up with us on these 24-hour forecasts. So, day two is not going to be easy. Now, day two is going to be difficult for a couple reasons. One, day one had a lot of emotional polarity flip that was happening. Now, as the emotional polarity flips are coming to an end in day one and third person, what's going to happen here in the beginning of this next 24-hour segment is we're going to have a mental polarity flip. So we're going to have a mental awareness change out. Now, that jet lag feeling that we get when these emotional awarenesses turn, that's still going to be probably going on for a lot of people. And then we're going to have this mental agitation that's going to come up with it. Now, the good news on the day is this in this 24-hour period, we do get to that level four, and we even get above it here in the second 12 hours. But for the most part, it's not high, okay? So does that mean it's going to be easy? No, this is going to be challenging. There's no doubt about that. All right, so let's get down here and look at testing structure. So the testing sequence has actually changed quite a bit from day one to day two. And you're going to see this flip-flop really happen in the upper left. So when day one started out, we weren't doing too much in the upper quadrants of the body, upper left or upper right. Day two is a different story. We're really going to have a little bit higher test load in the upper left, and upper right's going to follow it. Now, as these two went up, you can see the left lower, that's going to drop off here. So if you were having left lower quadrant issues in the first 24 hours, hopefully that's going to let off for you now. If you don't want to have problems in any of these quadrants, this is what you got to do. You got to commit to your team. You got to get along with all your teammates. You got to stop being defensive with your teammates. And you got to understand what it is we're supposed to be doing. Not only do we have to get along, but we have to agree on what we're supposed to be doing together, and that's balancing our routines. And when we balance our routines, this is what has to happen. Everything that you contribute to as an individual has to come back and help all the future teams that we're part of here. You see, we're all just an interconnected family. And it shouldn't matter what country you're born in, but right now it makes a big difference where you're born in this world. That's what needs to change. And to do that, we have to start getting along with each other a whole lot better and working together a whole lot better. Now, the less you're working along with people and the less you're thinking about how you're going to leave this place equal and fair for all the future families, the more out of balance you're going to be with these frequencies, and the more your body's going to take accelerated aging and the more diseases that you're going to have to suffer through. That's just how that works. So let's keep moving here. Let's get down to the Plutonic Objective Master Key. Now, this chart is going to let you know exactly what it is you're going to be tested on by the strongest frequencies in this next 24-hour period of time. And we're going to talk about the macro mental first. This one doesn't change. It's going to stay this way for the entire year. And it's checking to see how your routines and how your relationships, how are they affecting the world? And how are they affecting the mothers of the world? Now, you know what you have to do. You have to leave this place better for everyone. So when you say, well, I'm helping the world, are you helping it for everyone? Or are you helping it just for yourself and the people you know about? This again is just a reference so you understand what's expected. Now, if you're doing anything other than making sure that everyone's going to have fair and equal opportunity going forward in the future, you're going to take accelerated damage to where this mental frequency is testing. And this capital M, well, that's right here. We've got one on the left side and we've got one on the right side, both in the lower quadrants here. Now, this M has to do with the worldview, and this M has to do with this view right here, the time view. Now, that's just how that works. So you know if you've been struggling with your hips and it's been going on for this entire year, you can even know which relationship out of the 8-4 is responsible for that. Now, the next one we're going to talk about is the micro mental. This is where some change is going to happen. We talked about this. In fact, when we come up here, you can see this is where that change is going to happen. So we're showing you that we're going to be leaving the 6-8 micro mental and we're going to be moving into the 6-7 micro mental. Now, nothing's changing as far as what it's testing on the space side. It's going to stay with family here. What is changing though is how you're leaving the world versus how you're leaving the nation. And as this one continues to move, it's just going to keep moving over to the left here and it's going to keep testing you until it brings it all the way here and then it's going to reverse and go back this direction. So the 6-7 isn't going to be a whole lot different because really the nation and the world, those are the largest perspectives. So you really need to be thinking about that when you're making your choices. Like when you're making your daily choices, how is this going to leave our nation? Is this going to keep our nations together? Is this what's causing the division between our nations? These are the kind of things you have to ask yourself before you're making your choices. Now, as far as the family part, we already talked about this. This is going to stay the same. Now, these are the M's here. We've got them labeled 1 and 2. So you can see this is where it started at. This is M1, M1. This is where it's going to go, M2, M2. So these are the new areas of the body that are going to be affected for the next 7.5 days. This is a 7.5 day frequency. So when this transitions to the 6-7, this is going to hold for 7.5 days, and then it's going to transition into the 6-6, and then so on and so forth. All right, so now we're going to move into the 5-2 here. So this is the 5-2 emotional set we're in, and this is testing the same thing. It's going to stay this way for the rest of the 6 days we've got to go through here. Okay, individual and sun. Those are the two perspectives that you should be focusing on. And depending on how your routines and your relationships are they affecting these two individuals or these two perspectives in a way that's going to be beneficial now and in the future for everyone. That's how that works. Now, the physical macros, these are the two macros that are going to happen here in day two. This is the first one. Okay, so this is P1. And this is the 2-4. So it's going to see how you're doing with your relationships with daughter and also with relationships with mother. This is the space. This is the time. Here it is. P1. This is the space. This is the time. Both going to affect her right quadrant. Now, this is the P2. This is the 4-5. This is going to happen in the second 12 hours. This is checking the relationship of mother and how we're doing family. Now, again, this is how your routines and your relationships reflect in the larger level and the smaller level. Is it going to help mothers? Is it going to help families? Is it going to make it fair and equal for all of those relationships? You see, we're all part of an interconnected team, and the sooner you understand what your responsibilities are, the sooner you can start to act in a way that reflects that. When you act in a way that reflects your understanding that we're all together and we need to be working together, that's when you're going to feel the best. And that's when you're going to achieve what this objective is. All right, so you can see here there's some pretty big changes in day two. This mental one is definitely going to switch some things around, okay? People are going to definitely notice that a little bit different. Specifically, one of the mentals is coming into the upper quadrant, where before both of the mentals were in the lower quadrant. All right. Now, one is going to shift to the right side. So we're going to have a right side shift for the mental frequency, and we're going to have a left upper quadrant shift. That's probably the biggest change, and that's why I'm talking about this with you again. So in the next couple of days, if you really notice that your left shoulder starts to become an issue, you can be certain that this new awareness, this 6-7, it's trying to help you understand what's out of balance, and that would be this national perspective. That's what's connected to the M2 here on the time side. Okay. So the more we discuss this and the more you see how this works, the easier it's going to be to use this to your advantage. All right. So we're going to talk at the end here just about the one alignment today. There's one major alignment. It's this level 15 alignment, and it's happening between the 8-4 and it's happening between this 6-8 and 6-7. These two things are aligning at the same time with this one, and it's just amplifying the test. So this is really going to be checking world perspective, which we're already being checked on here. This is also looking at mother. This is also going to look at nation. Okay. So those are the major ones that are being accounted for by this alignment. If you're having problems with those specific perspectives, it's very likely that you're going to experience some amplified situations during this alignment right here. So that's what that's about. Now, when we talk about the space side, this is worth mentioning. How do we get along with our teammates? You got to be able to communicate with them all. You got to be able to coordinate with them all. You got to be able to talk through and alleviate stress with them. And most importantly, you got to be able to talk to them about what it is we're supposed to be doing here and start to kind of coordinate together on routines that are going to leave this better for everyone. That's what's got to happen. If you're not doing that, any variation that isn't that, the farther away you are from that, the more unbalanced your approaches are, the more damage you're going to take during these alignments for how we get along with teammates. All right, so that's pretty much it here. Don't forget, we've got the whole 6.5 day 5-2 sequence. We've got every lesson plan. You can come in here and know what you're going to be expected to do because when these blue ones switch out, these 12-hour macros switch out, they can really change things. So if you're ever wondering why one day you really seem to be in your groove and then the next day you're not, when these change, they're going from the bottom of the chart to the top of the chart. They're running from left to right one time, and then they run from right to left as they go back the other direction. So there's like this zigzag pattern, and it's literally just checking every single one of these relationships constantly. You're being tested to see how balanced your choices are. That's just how that works. So definitely come down here, make sure you're aware of what's coming, and you can see. And once you know what days or which of these blue macros are difficult for you, we'll be able to know when we're going to be back up and tested in these upper areas or lower areas or inside areas or outside areas. That's how advantageous it is to know how this pattern's affecting you. All right, so same thing here. We've got these are the alignment charts for the rest of this week as well. So you can come through here, and these are synchronized together. So as this says day 5, this is also on day 5. All right. Now, last graph we've got here for you is the rest of the electromagnetics for 2024. We don't want you to be surprised. No mystery. You know everything that's going to come before it gets here. It's super important to know when this pattern is going to elevate because that's what's agitating us. That's how we're being manipulated by our defensive design. We're trying to help you overcome that defensive design so that you don't have to age as fast, that you can feel better, and you can help the people around you do better. All right, that's it for this 24-hour forecast. We'll see you in the next.